So, was there more of God in that song than in the moment before it? I don't know. Is there more of God in the monastery that I was in than there is in Burger King? How many people think that there's the same amount of God in Burger King as in the sacred place, the monastery? How many people think there's more in the monastery? Come on, get over it. You know, sure seems like it, doesn't it? But the truth is that we're the ones who decide. I mean, every moment is precious. Every moment is a possibility. And every moment has within it and underneath it something that we call God. And we've got to get in touch with that something. And so every moment is equally God, yes, and every place is equally God, but I spent 9 days and 8 nights in a monastery of the Cistercian Trappist monks. Now they're the most, they call them the monks of the strict observance. They're the ones that broke away in the 1200s because they wanted to be stricter than the other monks. And then again, they broke away from those monks in the 18th century because they wanted to be stricter still. Now, we think of them as strict, and we think maybe they're, I don't know, kind of scary, or maybe they're very, 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 I don't know, fundamentalist or something. But no, they actually are very open. They just are strict about their observances. But although their style of life is very simple, they're very flexible. They're very flexible and very, very reasonable. And there was one time when I thought I did something wrong. They had 6 services a day starting at 3:30 in the morning, and I went to 2 of those. And then they lasted till about 8 at night. And one of the services, for some reason, everybody would always remain seated, but I didn't realize, I still to this day, I don't know why that service. So I get up and start bolting out the door, everybody's staring at me, and I'm, oops. So I go up to the priest who was running the guest house, and I said to him, I think I made a mistake. He says, a mistake? Whoa, we can't have that around here. Why, the last time somebody made a mistake, it had something to do with jumper cables and somebody's sister standing in the corner singing Nearer My God to Thee. And he just looked at me waiting for my reaction. Of course, you're trying to figure that out, aren't you? It makes no sense. She was just having fun with me. But there is a sense of playfulness because you see, in the now moment of God, there is playfulness. And the reason why they do what they do and they observe all of this is so they can wake up to who they are inside and come home to themselves. How many of you have heard of the famous Trappist monk? He's part of this order, Thomas Merton. Raise your hand. Thomas Merton. You know, Thomas Merton was not only considered the greatest and best-selling Catholic author of the 20th century in the United States, but he also was a great translator of Eastern texts, a student of yoga, close friends with the Dalai Lama, and his translation of Zhuangzi's Taoist writings is probably the best in the world. He was very open, but he talked about the reason for his practices. And he wasn't suggesting that anybody else do what he did, but he said it was so he could become normal. Normal. Now, how do you call that normal? What's normal about it? He described it this way. He said, imagine a little down feather that comes out of a down pillow. You ever had one escape? And notice it. It just floats in the air. It floats so freely. It's just so playful, and it's so light. And any upwind, it just kind of moves. It's so great. He says, that's your soul. That's our souls. That's our nature. It's that lightness. But what happens when it gets a little bit of water on it or something? And what do you do with that little feather to get it back to its natural state? You let it dry out. He said your spiritual practices is you drying out so you can get your buoyancy and your lightness again. Have you ever felt like that? You ever feel like you need to do that? Well, that's why I went away for 9 days and 8 nights. But you don't necessarily have to do that. But where do you create spaces in your life where you come home to yourself, where you come home to what's normal? Not normal the way the world says normal is, no. But normal according to the nature of your true essence, the way you were made. The normal of the who that you are inside. Many of us don't even know who that who inside is. We've not taken the time. What a great opportunity in the middle of all this that's going on in the world to take the time to dry out and become normal. I dry out and I become normal. Together? I dry out and I become normal. And we do this by allowing ourselves to become quiet, becoming aware that there's more to us, the essence of us, than all of this out here. Jesus talked about it in one of his wonderful quotes from the Gospel of Thomas. He said, now, before I say this, I want to just share, Jesus sometimes was so in the Spirit, in his God consciousness, that he spoke from the point of view of God. Other times he didn't. But in this case, he was one with God, and he said, I am the light above everything. I am the everything. From me, everything goes forth, and to me it all returns. Split open wood, and I am there. Lift up a stone, and you will find me there. Okay, now there's that allness that moves in the universe, but always finds its source. And when we get in touch with our true essence, that's that God essence of us that may go out into the world, but always comes home to itself. But what's this thing about splitting the wood and lifting up a stone? I mean, what do you get when you split wood open, when you chop wood open? What's there in the middle? I heard somebody at 9 o'clock say, more wood. No. In the middle, what's in the middle? Space. Possibility. Creative space. Openness. And that is where we're supposed to look. It's fine to think about the wood. That's just fine. Those are the things in life. But the real essence is within. And then what happens? What's underneath the stone? Space. Nothing. Nothing. A whole lot of nothing. But what is that? That's that possibility within you. Now, I'm losing some people because people are going, he's getting out there again. He does this every so often. He just gets totally out there and I can't follow it. But think about it. To get in touch with the essence of who you are, you've got to get quiet. It's like during the meditation when I shared that it's like taking some cloudy water, some muddy water, and you just let it sit. And what happens to the water? It becomes clear. All the sediment filters to the bottom. It settles. And there's that part of us that's yearning to find its true nature, that's yearning. And you say, well, this is a lot of mystical talk, and this is a lot of, but you know what? You've experienced this many times, and you can make this a regular part of your life by choosing to live from the invisibility of you, not the outer appearance of you. Not living from the stone or the wood, but from what's inside and underneath. And so how do you do that? How do you get in touch with that essential you that's underneath and inside your nature? How do you do that? Well, maybe you do like Eckhart Tolle suggested and just sit with one word, one phrase, one thought, and just be with it. Maybe you take a bubble bath. I'm not joking. Maybe you look at a tree. Maybe you enjoy your hammock. Maybe you experience this. We've all had these experiences. We call them epiphanies. You know, an epiphany is that out of the ordinary experience, and yet it's that which is normal and natural within you. And it may come through something religious or spiritual. It may come through something like looking at a sunset or the eyes of a baby or giving spiritual service to someone. You can experience that epiphany, but you can also experience it sometimes through very difficult times in life, through very tough experiences in life, because it forces you out of your everyday thinking and makes you reach down deeply into your soul and pull up resources that you didn't know that you had. And the wisest people I know are the people who've engaged with their true being, the really tough things. That time at the doctor's office, or that phone call that you got, or that thing that you heard about on television, or whatever it is, and you moved into a deeper part of yourself. Reaching down deep to find the essence of the who that you are. This is who you are inside, but it's not just mystical experiences. In fact, I love the fact that Thomas Merton called it being normal. You know, St. Teresa of Avila, who had many mystical experiences and visions, had a novitiate, a young woman, come to her and brag about how she was seeing lights and angels and saints and all kinds of things. And St. Teresa said, well, dear, if you'll just be faithful with your prayer life, these unwanted intrusions will go away. That even though she herself had had mystical experiences, it's about coming home to yourself and not seeking after them, and finding the essence of who you are, and then you can address those situations in your life in a much more holistic way. You know, by going to a Trappist retreat, I was going to something that's very close to the essence of unity. James Dilla Freeman, Unity's director of Silent Unity for years, he was our poet laureate, shared with me once that Thomas Merton's assistant came to him upon the death of Thomas Merton and said to him, I'd like to come to work here at Silent Unity with you because Thomas Merton told me that unity was the closest thing to what he taught that he had found in the West. And she went and she worked there for years. That experience that God is an everyday presence that we can access, but we have to take the time and decide within ourselves, this is the who that we are. But it means not placing our spirituality as some kind of thing where off in the future when we become flawless and perfect and we don't make any mistakes and we're, you know, that kind of perfectionist thinking. Instead, understanding that making mistakes and forgiving ourselves and others for mistakes is a huge part of it. One of the things that happens when you get quiet and meditate is things come up, and they're there to be released and understood. But realize that you can love yourself into wholeness. It's a wonderful quote from John Wheeler, who's a physicist. He said, the great teachers are great because they make more mistakes than everybody else. They just make them faster, and they have the ability to recover from them. It's not that they don't make them. That's what good teachers do. They don't always appear infallible or invulnerable. They share that vulnerability and fallibility with their students, and they show how to recover. Sometimes not the next hour, sometimes only the next day or the next week. But it means letting go of all of our views of how we're supposed to be. We're here on an adventure. It's a spiritual adventure of our soul, our spiritual nature, the Christ consciousness in us. And when we're in the middle of something, one of the best things to do is say, I'm on an adventure. Where is my soul going to take me? Together? I'm on an adventure. Where is my soul going to take me? And then let go of all stops. Let go of all ideas of, what it's supposed to look like. Let go of the way it was supposed to be, the way we think it's going to be, and just let ourselves move. Dancing with God is what Jane Hart calls it. But moving with this dance. Playing the God game, the hide and seek with God, and letting it be, and letting go of the false sense of security that so many of us look for out here, and realize that it's found in the now moment in ourselves. Jesus talked about this. He said, foxes have holes to sleep in, and the birds of the air have their nests, but the Son of Man has no place where he can even lie down and fall asleep. Meaning that you're always going to be engaged with the who that you are, and you can engage yourself with great compassion and love. And when you have compassion and love for yourself, then what do you have? You have something to share with other people. Then what do you have? You have something to share with the world. I love the way these monks who are cloistered, most of them never leave there. Once they go in, they don't come out. They're cloistered. And they talked about how they deal with the world situations, the world affairs. One of them talked about how he experienced 9/11. And he said, we realize that we take the long, long view of things. We realize that I may be here for a few years, but there were people doing this hundreds of years before me. There'll be people doing this hundreds of years afterwards. And my job is to be in this moment, remembering for a world that sometimes falls asleep. But it's realizing that it's not the world's job to wake up for you. It's your job to wake up and be present for the world, and to let the world make the mistakes it needs to make, which is a very tough teaching. You know, Lynn teaches something called love and logic, which is a parenting technique that teaches that you want to put the responsibility back on the child as much as possible. And through their experiences, you want them to make mistakes. In fact, you want them to make mistakes at the youngest possible age when the consequences are the least, so that the consequence may be staying after school rather than being locked up somewhere. So you put it back on them. But look at the world. Look at the world that we're facing right now, and look at your disappointments with the way the world might be right now. And recognize this, it's better that the world experience the natural consequences of its choices at this point, maybe than at some later date when the stakes may be higher. Realize that sometimes we just need to let the world perhaps decide. I'm going to find out what it's like to truly be materialistic and separate, and see how that works for me, as Dr. Phil says. And then hold the space in our everyday lives, holding the space of possibility, so that in the long arc of the evolution of humanity, everyone has a chance to have their own responsibility, have it come back to them, and then they can wake up and experience what is theirs to experience without our enabling. And it's a very tough view of things, but that means we've got to stay engaged in our spirituality. And everybody's different in this room, so it's a challenge for each one of us. It's a challenge for you to ask yourself, what does that mean for me? How do I show up in my life every day? Perhaps it's just remembering, hey, I'm living at this level. I'm not going to live at this level. I'm going to live at the level of inside the wood and underneath the stone, the spiritual nature within me. And I'm going to live at the higher level for not just myself, but to be a remembrance for the people around me. So it's early in the talk, so hopefully I'll say something later, but I feel that we need to come together and bring this energy in together. And remember, I just get the feeling that there's people in this room who are struggling with situations in their lives, maybe in the world arena, and we just lift up into that possibility where we remember that the presence of God is found within and behind every appearance. And as we touch in to that spiritual nature within our beingness, as we live from our hearts, not from our human desires and wants, as we connect and come back to ourselves, remembering that it's ours to experience what Thomas Merton called being normal, finding ourselves waking up in who we are. And how can we do this? By simply remembering, this is who I am. This is who I am, and who I am rooted in a reality, a real self of me, that the soul of me, my Christ consciousness, is more real than any appearance in my life. Whatever my need is, it will roll out from this inner, deeper awareness. And as I feel the energy in this room in this moment, and experience the quiet, I tap into the essence, the presence of pure being. Thank you, God, that in this now moment we have everything we need, and we bear witness to the growth and the transformation of all humanity, all humankind. Thank you, God. And so it is. And now just take a very deep breath. And then when you let it out, just let go of everything in your hands. Open your hands, if you will, palm up. And just become aware that in the quiet, in the confidence of this now moment is your strength. That whatever it is that you came in to receive, there's plenty of it right here, right now. I live in an abundant universe. I'm enfolded in love and light. I'm surrounded and infilled in divine substance and energy. I clothe myself in the generosity of spirit. I feel the divine love all around, in even a visualization of taking a robe of pink light energy and putting it all around yourself. And then feeling the energy absorb into the core of your being. I am absorbed, uplifted, lifted up into the infinite peace, the infinite love and energy, the infinite consciousness of God. As my body becomes more settled, I'm like that glass of water that may have impurities in it, but if I let it sit, all the things that are in it just settle to the bottom and it becomes crystal clear. And as my mind just sits quietly, peacefully, all my thoughts settle to the bottom. And I experience the crystal clarity of this now moment, all there is. God ising, vibrating and lifting me up. As I become aware of my breath, I breathe in and out through my heart. The peace of God is my breath. The love of God is my breath. As my heart settles in, I feel my feelings enliven and enlighten, bubble with joy. A calm peace comes over my soul. My thoughts become quieter and settle. As I watch my breath coming in and out of my heart. This is the moment in which everything is ising in me. Whatever I need, God is in this moment. Whatever the fulfillment is God in this moment. And I feel infinitely loved, treasured, protected. I settle into a feeling of calm peace, well-being, protection. I just rest, watching my breath in and out through my heart space. This moment is heaven. This now moment, this place in time, is my access to all of God. All the peace and all the joy and all the love and the support that I need is mine in this now moment. I claim it. My heart is full. I am at peace. The quiet joy. The quiet peace. The quiet love of God is mine. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. I give from my innermost highest self, and I receive abundantly. Together. I give from my innermost highest self, and I receive abundantly. Silently. And again aloud together. I give from my innermost highest self, and I receive abundantly, and so it is. Amen.